Evening and welcome to the Overwatch Pacific Championship Season 2 qualifiers. I'm Kevin Walker, joined with me tonight Matt, Pixie, Carol, and in just moments the last remaining 3 teams will battle out where only 2 will make it to Season 2.
Yeah, 3 become 2. We already sent home Talent Esports last night, unfortunately dropping out first to DeToNator Korea, then of course Liberland Supreme knocked them out altogether. So now Liberland, they have kind of earned themselves one last chance, but really it's DeToNator Korea and Team Ardeont who are wanting to just break into it right here, right now, no nonsense.
Absolutely, both Korean teams coming into this. We had also talent from Hong Kong, Liberland, of course, from Japan, but it's the 2 Korean teams everyone's talking about, everyone's got their eyes on as the 2 favorites. And of those 2 teams, one in particular that has been highlighted, that is Team Ardeont.
Yeah, Team Ardeont last night, their match against Liberland was, to be frank, absolutely dominant. This is Liberland as well, who then went on to knock out Talent. So it's not that they're just some incredibly weak team or anything like that. They also were able to make it out of that initial 6 to make it into this top 4. So, I mean, we kind of expected that from Liberland. But honestly, Ardeont, not only are they looking like they're just poised to qualify right here, right now, they're also looking like come Season 2, they may well be top 3 material.
Absolutely, and so, you know, we started with online qualifiers a few weeks ago with 8 teams, now we're down to 3, and in those online qualifiers, they were split into 2 groups of 4 teams each, of which Liberland Supreme and DeToNator Korea were in the same group. Now, DeToNator Korea came out of that group, first seed, Liberland Supreme, second seed, and the scoreline between those 2 were 3-2. So, if Ardeont somehow dropped to DeToNator Korea, that would kind of spell the doom of Liberland Supreme. And if DeToNator Korea dropped down to meet to meet Liberland Supreme, that could be a very close game.
It absolutely could be, and also because DeToNator Korea did themselves. Maybe let's talk about what's on screen for a moment first.
Yeah, so before we get to that, if you're wondering what the format is, it's the standard best of 5 that you're used to already. In terms of game modes, we're going to start with Control, followed by Hybrid and then Assault, Escort, ending with Hybrid again. Now, the first map is a little bit interesting because we're not going to do the home and away system that you saw in Season 1. Both teams will have neutral ground, and the first map is a predetermined one. In this case, in the DeToNator versus Ardeont match, it will be on Oasis, and then for the loser match between Liberland Supreme and the loser of the first match, it will be on Nepal.
Yeah, and this is kind of an interesting dynamic. It's very different to what we saw in OPC. Of course, you can't have that home and away when the teams only play each other once. So this actually, in the case of just a single best of 5, makes things quite fresh, quite interesting. And the thing I was kind of touching on before is DeToNator Korea beat Talon. It was a very close win. 4 games, each of which was really down to the wire. We had 3 of those go into overtime, and we nearly had the Control one go to a full 5 maps as well. A lot of them 99-99. Liberland's win against Talon, a lot more convincing. So if DeToNator Korea do drop this, based on the relative performance against Talon, actually they would then be the real team in trouble of getting knocked out.
I would definitely think so as well. And just a final little detail that I forgot to add, of course, if you lose a map, you then pick the next map. So it's just very similar to Apex format. The loser always picks the following map until we get to the full best of 5 if we make it that distance from the available map pool, which, by the way, does not include Horizon Lunar Colony.
Yes, by the way. And, of course, that's what makes this so interesting. If you do drop that first map, right, even if you then go on to drop the next one, each time you get to pick a map that favors you on that particular game mode. You actually have all the control. It makes it a lot easier for teams to turn around series. You're not as dependent on who has what pick at what time, which, like I said, you know, outside of having that wider, you know, regular round robin format, this is actually a really interesting circumstance, I think, for these teams to end up in, because the way you have to approach it is very, very different. You're really more just playing to your own beats and your own strengths.
We did get a chance to see over the players as well, sitting on the respective sides. Team Ardeont, who, you know, as we discussed, were very, very dominant yesterday. DeToNator Korea as well, a bit of a new team coming in to the Korean scene and also now to the OPC APAC scene. It is 2 Korean teams, but I would like to say, you know, one of them a lot more experienced than the other one. Absolutely
the case. And also, just to note, for those of you who were keeping track at the end of Season 1, of course, Sun Sister and DeToNator Gold, both were the ones to end up in the promotion relegation tournament. Sun Sister are already eliminated as of the online qualifier, and DeToNator Gold has been replaced by DeToNator Korea. So this is the same organization, new team has taken that slot. And now let's watch them come up against Ardeont.
All right, DeToNator going to take on the blue side, Ardeont on the red side. Going to kick things off. Both teams going to go for the Genji Tracer. Nothing too unusual so far.
Yeah, pretty stock standard, and honestly what we saw last night out of Ardeont was this unbridled aggression, already off to a good start picking him, but it's not going to be quite so much of a role as they do get traded back with Dayfly. Ivar demexed though, so they had to give a bit of space here, and he's going to end up dropping off the edge there. They're actually in a bit of trouble, but does stay alive as the team goes and collapses on Bexel, and Ardeont, not quite the same intense aggression, but very well reacted to DeToNator.KR's dive.
And actually, Erster wasted a lot of time for DeToNator there. Erster was well baited. The rest of DeToNator, including Tanks, really wanted to kill him. He sort of hung out to the side, wall climbed his way back in. Meanwhile, the rest of Ardeont just picked out the bottom back line of DeToNator.
Now in a bit of an interesting spot here, DeToNator going to try and just pressure the point itself, force Ardeont in, and unfortunately that is exactly what Ardeont want to do, is they just rack them right up. Look, Dayfly again, the only one to die. Not too surprising when you're a squishy robot.
And Dayfly's been the only one realistically dying on the Ardeont side. Everyone else has just been picking up kills on DeToNator, and DeToNator just gonna go for another reset here. Now 2 fights lost. The good news is the 2 fights have been pretty quick for them. They've only lost about 30-ish kind of percent. This isn't too far out of bounds of what DeToNator can do to actually make a comeback. So everything within the realm of possibility, but Ardeont are ahead in ultimates, which is definitely scary for DeToNator.
Yeah, scary is one way to put it. They really had to bait out a few here, but even that is going to be a bit of a hard ask, to be honest with you. Now let's see how they kind of approach this.
I think they're definitely going to need to make use of Trona's pulse bomb when it actually happens, but already losing that kill right at the top
Makes
of
it a bit hard.
fight.
And look at how they're set up, by the way. Look at how aggressive Ardeont here. Funny enough, Erster not really finding anything with this Dragon Blade. I mean, he took out him, but the rest of the team, DeToNator, had already backed off anyway. They actually could have conserved that one if they wanted, but even then it doesn't matter because they're still just so far ahead.
If you remember the game yesterday as well versus Liberant Supreme, Ardeont had a fantastic time of being super conservative with ultimates, extremely economical as a team, only using one ultimate, and oftentimes coming down to Erster, specifically onto the Dragon Blade. That's all they need. Even if he only gets 1 kill, the rest of the players pick up everything else. And for DeToNator Korea, they lost a couple members, lost Nyukyup early, lose Nyukyup early again. This is just a disaster.
That is so unfortunate, and already getting the pick on Trona as well. It was actually Dayfly getting that, funnily enough. And once again, Dayfly, this time Animo is going to go down as well, but still, I don't think DeToNator.KR can really get into this one. Bexel's going to try for it anyway with that ultimate running, but needs to get a lot of disruption done. Yeah, there's still a lot of members here, and Raphael low and now out means they won't have that Dragon Blade to kind of swing this one. May not even be able to stall long enough to get Trona in, even as they pick DM, because honestly, Ardeont's members are coming back in themselves. Sound Barrier running is going to keep them safe. Crucially, Erster, who is pulling so much weight in this fight, finally going down to Bexel, but Bexel's just a man alone.
This is a good stall.
Him ulting out, yeah, it is a good stall at least, but I honestly don't know if DeToNator can really convert the stall into anything anyway, because now with that Transcendence out,
here comes Raphael.
Yeah, this could be the swing. This is really their last chance. Good opener now. They pick Animo as well. At long last, they have found a way to convert that stall. They do actually get something from it, but oh dear!
No.
Ivar not on the point at the crucial moment. That is about as rough as it gets. They had finally decided to turn it.
DeToNator put in all the work for that last fight. They had the Transcendence in there. You had Trona just wasting a lot of time on the Ardeont side, making sure the contest was always there, making sure the overtime was in effect, and they just needed to wait for Raphael's Dragon Blade. That was always going to be their big comeback mechanic. They used the Dragon Blade, he got the kills, but unfortunately, what happened to Ivar? He just forgot about the cap itself.
Yeah, that's super rough, and I'll be completely honest as well, he wasn't the only one in the area. Like, if I'm not mistaken, Nyukyup was also quite close by, and it's just, they were doing the right thing. They were in position to make the play, but they did just need to keep that one extra member on the point.
DeToNator also losing Nyukyup at the start of a lot of these fights, and that's something that's going to really affect these guys. He's their team captain. I'm sure he's a shot caller as well. Losing your main Lucio support, always playing in a 5v6 situation, they got to do something about it.
Yeah, you're dead right. Makes it really, really rough, and by comparison, I believe it is Animo doing a similar thing for Ardeont, but he is having a lot more success with staying alive. Off to a slightly better start here, but DM now already starting to rip them to bits, and unfortunately DeToNator not quite able to execute on that position they had gone for, and Ardeont kind of drew them into what was essentially a well-laid trap.
And one thing I'll quickly point out about DeToNator Korea is last night we saw them versus Talon. They use a lot of Raphael and Soldier. Tonight, it's only Raphael into the Genji, and this is on control as well. We saw Lee Jung Tower, Raphael, specifically playing Soldier against Talon, and now he's not going back there. So DeToNator Korea are doing something a little bit different tonight.
Yeah, we only saw him on Genji for about half a second there, which was really just to kind of trick out the enemy Genji, who was looking for a Soldier instead. But look at DM's position here. Undetected means he collapses on him. That is so rough for DeToNator Korea. And by the way, if you're curious as to how it keeps happening, that is exactly how it's happening. That's how Ardeont are able to cut off this team as they're making their setups. They are reading whatever it is DeToNator Korea want to do and then setting themselves up so they can cut it off.
Wow, Erster just lives. This guy doesn't die. He puts himself in really interesting situations where he gets a kill, gets a 1v1 win against Pixie, lives on 25 HP, can't get converted by anyone else. Ardeont are just there to save his life. He gets back to his team. This is exactly what happened on Shrine. It's happening again now in Sanctum, and DeToNator have no answer for this.
And that's the thing, if you're winning 1v1s and getting low, normally that is the opportunity for the enemy team to make a trade. But again, DeToNator Korea are struggling, and already, once again, DM just undetected. Quick cap onto him. This is how he keeps dying. And now he's going to be able to commit a pulse bomb into the back end of the team if they really need it to secure it out, but he's happy to just try and lay down the damage. Now he's forced the tanks out, which means Trona is just kind of isolated, stuck off by himself, along with Raphael. The rest of Ardeont is sitting pretty on the points, to be honest. DeToNator Korea can't actually follow up. Now losing Trona again means they can't really go for this fight, and they're all just split to bits.
And actually, DeToNator Korea committed into that fight because Ivar used self-destruct, even though he lost his mech, just to reset that mech, and now he's going to lose his mech again, so it's kind of all for naught. His ultimate didn't do anything. DeToNator now losing a lot of time, heading into the 80% kind of mark, and DeToNator have no real advantages going into this next fight, and it will be their last fight if they're not careful.
DM and Ivar just exchanging some friendly hellos there. Don't know if you all caught that at home, but good to see a bit of sportsmanship, I suppose. But this is now the aggression. This is what Erster has been holding on to yet. There's absolutely nothing friendly about this. This is as antagonistic as it gets. He does actually get picked though, so that is a good trade. Gives DeToNator Korea a window, but again, losing Nakyup. They are getting a few more trades, but they're a little lean for tanks. Him is only just in the fight. They don't have a DPS ultimate available. Transcendence keeps them alive as they pick DM. This is what they needed last time around. They can get Raphael back onto this. This is a good ultimate out of Thorncut, but it's not really going to be enough. Only picking out Ivar's mech, and now Raphael can rejoin the team. If they can deal with this D.Va, they should be able to keep the contest alive, but they need to not get split off again by Ardeont. Unfortunately, Pulse Bomb going wide, but the members have reinforced now. Beck's still able to get back in. Unfortunately, the same is now true for Ardeont, and they're keeping Thorncut topped off as Erster, the soldier, is already looking to contest Raphael. He needs to get a huge Dragon Blade now. Sound Barrier running is going to make that very, very hard, as Erster is just untouched, finally getting taken out. Raphael pulling his weight at the 11th hour to turn the point back over, but that's only just a cap.
DeToNator gold. This is exactly what they were trying to achieve last time onto Shrine. They never got it because Ivar stepped off the point. This time, where you have the overtime going, you have the contest going, Raphael goes off, you give him the space, you give him the room, he actually comes out very much favored, and Erster's not able to challenge him. All he had was a nano boost. He's playing soldier as well. He needed Genji too to really challenge Raphael, or at least save his own life.
Yeah, exactly. It makes it really, really tricky, but this is a very deep position for Bexel to be in. If he can't get out of here, then already DeToNator Korea are off to a rough start in this fight, and Ardeont going to go ahead and capitalize on that. DM already harassing the backline. Once again, Nakyup just cannot catch a break, poor guy. They do get a trade back on a Dayfly, but losing Raphael as well is honestly just... that's a bit of a death knell for them. Self-destructive by them sometime. Doesn't catch anyone, and while that's all happening, Erster is just keeping all the DPS on lockdown. And Ardeont swinging back hard, fast, and without falter.
And this could be really good as well. DM looking for a kill into the backline. Erster just finishing out his tactical
nothing in his sights.
Overtime does still continue, and DeToNator, they need to live long enough to actually get a couple of respawns. Him might be after Transcendence in there if he can just live, but no one's staying alive, and they're not even getting Raphael's Dragon Blade. That's what's been saving them so far. It's not going to save them this time.
And it was only Republic, by the way. Republic and DM between themselves were going forward and stopping anyone else from jumping onto the point to contest it and force it. Now even with that sound barrier running, even if DeToNator Korea could get someone on the point, it would already be a lost cause. In fact, arguably it was a lost cause long before that anyway. So Ardeont now very convincingly ahead in the series.
What's interesting about the way DeToNator Korea are playing is, if you remember yesterday's match versus Talon, they were the team we described as a controlled demolition. If they call it DeToNator, this is about as controlled as you get in terms of detonation. So they're a team that plays slowly, they're a team that plays patiently, looks for situations, really understands how they need to be pushing. But when you look at this matchup so far, they do look like they're speeding up a little, and not in a good way, because DM is able to counter up that backline. He's able to pick apart Nakyup and also him on multiple occasions. Erster's there to back him up as well. If DeToNator Korea actually slow down their gameplay, protect their supports, make sure everyone's grouped together, they can actually protect those players from getting taken out so early on.
That being said, if DeToNator Korea are a controlled demolition, then right now Ardeont are a wildfire. They are looking pretty unstoppable, to be honest, and already DM deep on the dive as the rest of them try and cut off the tanks of DeToNator Korea. Yeah, again, you're right. And Erster again slipping away with health. They do at least get a trade this time around, and more trades coming through as they pick DM. But even so, the remaining members of Ardeont are somehow just able to pick apart DeToNator Korea. It's like they just have everyone's number, and they just don't ever seem to die.
Certainly not, and the supports are doing a great job of keeping everyone alive, but actually now DeToNator Korea are able to get a couple of trades. We did see for the first time, one of the few times, Animo gets traded for Nakyup. Him goes down, but he actually gets the kill on DM as well, so gets a little bit of revenge. DeToNator Korea are pushing back, but they're going to push back a lot harder to actually win these fights consistently.
Already now DM looking to get aggressive. They've picked Trona, man, and now they dive onto Nakyup. Look, once again, DeToNator Korea can't even actually get themselves set up in the first place. Ardeont know exactly what play DeToNator Korea are going to set up for, and they're not keeping themselves safe enough in that setup. They just keep getting cut off. They're not really checking all their angles as they move, and rightfully so, because if you did that, you'd end up running out of time altogether.
DeToNator Korea, I would say, at least economically, look a little bit better than the previous map so far into Nepal. They can sort of go into this with a little bit more to work with. Raphael nearly at that Dragon Blade again. That's going to be extremely important moving forward.
Trona needs to get a big pulse bomb as well. Unfortunately, straight into this defense matrix, and again, these members getting picked off. How are Ardeont getting away with this?
I mean, they're not even having to use ultimates, which is the really big thing here. Thorncut, he does end up using that self-destruct, cleans up Raphael, which is absolutely fantastic.
At last getting something, yeah, that's a big opening for them, but I've taken down in that as well. I mean, look, Ardeont, sure, that one ultimate being out makes it a bit better for DeToNator Korea, but they did use a couple of their own, notably Trona's Pulse Bomb, and they're still not actually ahead.
And that's the thing about Team Ardeont. You can't get behind an ultimate economy. That's how Ardeont have won so many of these fights across now 2 different teams they face so far on the broadcast and qualifiers. And so often Ardeont just pull out ahead massively in terms of kills, in terms of ultimates. They're always ahead, they're always advantaged, and you always feel like you're on the back foot against them.
Yeah, the reality is ults or no. They are just outmaneuvering and therefore out-fragging. I mean, it's a little bit more simple than, oh, they're just better at aiming, because it is the maneuvering of the teams. But also, when you combine onto that, this watertight ult management this team has, you don't get openings if you slip even micrometers behind.
A lot of low members, but you never really clean up the kills. So. Ursa getting down to like 60 HP.
Yeah, but
being able to get cleaned up already into the overtime.
That's
this time,
nuts.
DeToNator Korea don't have any tools to bring this one back. Last time, they've had Raphael really pull it. This time, it's not.
Raphael actually used the Dragon Blade at the start of that as well and died instantly, and Erster just, with 20 HP, pulled out his own. Raphael died from full health. Erster somehow got his health back up to full. Like, that just shows the difference between these two teams right now. Honestly, it feels like DeToNator Korea are just looking for a bit too much individual playmaking, and they're not setting up their playmakers ideally. And like I said as well, in how they're setting up their overall maneuvers, they're just not checking themselves prior to wrecking themselves.
This is I guess one thing I'll be able to really say has really contributed to DeToNator Korea's current playstyle in this matchup is the fact that Raphael is onto the Genji. When Raphael is playing the Soldier instead, that's when DeToNator Korea were playing a much more slow, patient, slow push kind of style, and that was quite, I like to say it was very well played against Talon, because they were able to counter the aggression from Talon. And Talon are a very aggressive team, much like we're seeing out of Ardeont now, and Ardeont are getting away with a lot. DM, he's on low health, but he's not dying. Ursa, he's on low health, but he's not dying. And it comes down to DeToNator Korea and able to pick up a lot of the trades. They were starting to get it at the end of Nepal, but not quite enough. End of Nepal, starting to trade Nakyup for Animo on the other side, but that's about the best results they can get.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Really, it's that they're just getting a couple of counter trades. It's not like they're actually killing the members that are low as they dive onto DeToNator Korea, is what I'm trying to say.
That would be even better counter trades. That's actually what they need.
That would be the ideal, is actually to pick off those members before they get those kills in, because they are ending up in situations where they're very low. But honestly, their target selection is so good. The way they're supporting these divers is so good. It looks like they're getting away with something, but actually, they just know their limits that well that they know when they can still commit even though they have 10 HP and make it pay off.
I do want to make a clarification as well. I said we were going to go to Oasis, so that was what I thought the plan was yesterday, but actually turns out we went to Nepal instead, so that was the map that we ended up playing. We might go to Oasis for the losers bracket match, but we're not quite there just yet. Map number 2 will be coming up very, very soon, and as the losers, DeToNator Korea will be picking what the hybrid is, and that's all going to happen after this break. Welcome back again to the OPC Season 2 qualifiers. We've just finished up Map 1 of Ardeont versus DeToNator Korea. So far, well, I mean, it's starting to look like a repeat of last night of Ardeont's game. A little, not quite in the same tone, because DeToNator Korea have got a little bit of kick into them, and they are punching back, but certainly not hurting Ardeont.
Exactly, they're struggling. It's kind of like playing Mike Tyson's Punch Out blindfolded. Like that's what it sort of feels like. Like, look, maybe you could. Like, you have to be really good, and you also have to have a little bit of luck. The thing is, right, what I really mean by that is actually the margins are so tight for DeToNator Korea to actually get in and punish Ardeont. The moment you slip behind a little bit, Ardeont just flatten you and you don't get opportunities to get back in. So you need to not lose that initial little bit. Hybrid though is a different beast altogether compared to Control. So I find this an interesting pick out of DeToNator Korea, and honestly wouldn't be surprised if the rest of the series isn't quite so one-sided as what we saw against Liberal Supreme yesterday.
And I guess the evidence to that would be DeToNator Korea's results yesterday versus Talon in particular. Control was their worst game mode.
They did lose
map.
that.
So, and it was the only map they lost in that series. So coming into the rest of the evening, the rest of the game modes, DeToNator Korea did step up, and you could really see their play style kind of shine, because outside the chaotic environment of Control, suddenly when you're in a bit more of a organized, I would say, more macro-based game mode like Hybrid, that's when DeToNator Korea really shine. But at the same time, Team Ardeont, they just don't appear to have any weaknesses across the board. So this is definitely not going to be a weak map or game mode for them either.
Well, certainly their weaknesses are not being exploited. And by the way, Eichenwalde I find interesting because yesterday, like you said, DeToNator Korea had lost Control. They had the Hybrid pick when they played against Talon. They picked King's Row. And what happened later on that day is King's Row was picked against Ardeont by Liberal Supreme. So this tells me one of two things, right? Either DeToNator Korea watched that and legitimately think their King's Row is weaker than Ardeont, so they're avoiding it, or they feel that maybe this is just somewhere where they are just straight up better than most other teams. I'm curious as to which it is. I hope it's the second. That would bode better than the first, but in any case, respect certainly being given to Ardeont's performance on King's Row yesterday.
And you'd have to give respect to that, and they showed such a dominant display, and that realistically hasn't ended yet. They're still on that dominating win streak. By the way, they came through the online qualifiers completely undefeated. They dropped 0 maps. So Ardeont are really riding a bit of a wave here, and it doesn't look like their wave is crashing on any rocks just yet. In fact, the winner of this entire series will automatically qualify into Season 2, so there is a decent amount riding on this particular match.
Yeah, the lucky thing is, of course, if you do lose it, you do get yourself another chance indeed against Liberal Supreme, as we saw in the bracket earlier, but absolutely. Getting into the OPC Season 2 is what both of these teams want. And right now, for Ardeont, is a little bit more on the cards. Yeah, indeed.
Okay,
this is spicy.
Winston Reinhardt. Okay, I can see this. This is very defensive.
Triple tank.
Krona's going to be playing the soldiers also. That is also different because Raphael's usually the one playing it. It does tell me Winston will be the flex pick here.
Oh, and unfortunately, Bexel already kind of surrounded and taken out, and ThoughtCut not quite finished off there. They're just constantly able to barely heal up these super low members, and now actually DeToNator are going to have a hard time recontesting it. No mech now for Ivar. Bexel slowly rejoining the fight, but Raphael, if he goes down before that, which indeed he does, good Discord selection on that, and honestly, they're just following up so well on the Discorded targets, and like I said,
that's a full team wipe.
Clutch healing the members that are low. Yeah, full team wipe after the point it actually capped as well. This is huge for Ardeont.
It's a big change up for DeToNator. Now they had a pocket strategy. It didn't quite work out for them. Pixel is going to go for a respawn. I believe he's going to come back as Winston, if I'm not mistaken. But Trona stays on the soldier because he is close to that tech visor, and they got to utilize it. He actually could go down here again.
That's a great dive onto Trona there, and you could see as well, Dian was actually waiting in the wings to put the pulse bomb down, or even just damage in case Republic wasn't able to close it out. But off the back of it, they're able to get inside. Look at how far forward of the payload they're playing. This is all to deny DeToNator any potential setup on that high ground. And again, they still have ultimates to use to that end. This is now Ardeont's territory, when by rights it should be DeToNator's.
And we talk about Ardeont being ahead in terms of economy. They get even further ahead in economy when DeToNator have to change up so much of their composition. When they have to change up so much of their composition, they reset the ult charge. Now it's going to be DeToNator's turn to get a little bit aggressive, but already losing their tank right at the top.
Like you said, their opportunity to get aggressive, but I mean, even so, they would have been diving into Dayfly's Transcendence and Trona getting picked off as well by Erskine. Once again, 50 health, that's the kind of margins he tends to live by, as now they're just getting so picked off. All those tools in the pocket of DeToNator meant absolutely nothing, and they weren't able to commit to the dive cleanly enough to actually dislodge Ardeont from the payload or the territory they held.
And DeToNator have one more opportunity here, and I think they will actually go for that. So, the contest does come through immediately for Ivar, but he's going to pay for it with his mech if he's not careful, and his life.
That's so unfortunate. I mean, DM even pumping shots into the back of him, so he died before he'd even hit the ground. They do get one trade back on the Dayfly, so I guess that's something, but it just doesn't matter. Actually, picking off Erster, that's not something we see a whole lot of. Sound Barrier was not in time to save him, but it doesn't matter. The rest of DeToNator is dead anyway. 2 kills for 6, given that that's the best result they've had so far. It's still just not good enough. Yeah, finally a punish on Ardeont.
And that's what they've needed for so long. I mean, we do see Ardeont always, no, I wouldn't say always, but oftentimes overextending, and they get away with it because they're fantastic players to read the situations well. But that one time, Trona saw DM and he said, "You're going down, I got you."
And once again, now getting aggressive. Bexel getting the good dive onto Dayfly. Unfortunately, Raphael, yeah. You're right, no dash and therefore no targets. And even Republic is going to be able to retreat safely from him. I mean, Raphael knows he actually can't really do anything to Republic there, not with that ultimate available for him. So DeToNator, they've kind of stalled it up, and actually Bexel committing to pop Thorncut's mech is good. They need to commit a lot more. They force out Republic's ultimate.
Here we go.
This is what they've very much needed. Him is able to absorb that ultimate out of Republic now. They need to take out Erster before he can commit a blade. Dayfly working overtime to keep him topped off and actually picking up Bexel. Now they swing it the way of Ardeont. They absorbed everything they needed to, much as DeToNator Korea absorbed them just a moment ago. And now Ardeont back on the aggressive, still looking pretty close to unstoppable, despite a little bump in the road.
And that's the thing about Ardeont is they're extremely good at disengaging. You see this team, they're great at playing aggressive, they get right in your face, they find the kills, but actually if you want to dive onto them, they're going to let you dive onto them, find out who's overextended, get those kills, and just rinse and repeat their entire game plan. So just good aggressive players, good disengaging plays, everything they're doing right now is just good.
Yeah, it really is. Dayfly even the one to get the kill on Bexel, and now Erster closing out on Ivar, who was previously demexed. Self-destruct in from Thorncut for style points, but the cap has already gone over with a stunning amount of time. By the way, there is a micro play I want to pick out here, right? And I wouldn't normally do this, but I feel like this is actually endemic of what's happening with Ardeont, because a lot of the time, stuff like this happens, you know, individually on other teams in particular moments, but on Ardeont it's happening with every member all the time. And what it was DM was chasing down Nakyup, right? Chased him around a staircase and then stutter stepped backwards to wait out the boop, right? That extra little movement, even though he lost time in stutter stepping back, he actually gained time by not being dislodged by the boop and was able to put pressure back onto Nakyup faster than if the boop had connected. And that was the difference between Nakyup living and dying. When all of your members are doing that constantly, you are just going to seem to outfrag.
And that's the thing about the Lucio versus Tracer 1v1 matchup is the biggest counter to the Tracer in that matchup is actually the boop. If you get around the boop, suddenly your ability to survive, or rather not survive, but suddenly your ability to kill that Lucio just increases dramatically. And oftentimes, if the boop does connect, you do get that heal, and your team can come and sort of just interact with you there and just really save you. So we saw this actually yesterday on King's Row. I'll have to play this little follow the leader on the rail track.
I keep a close watch on this heart of mine. I keep my eyes wide open all the time. I don't believe in anything that I can't find. Because you're mine. I walk the line. I guarantee I got the words wrong as well, but they did this yesterday as well on King's Row, and like, oh man, I love this team. They're so full of character.
That's fantastic. That's what you really want to see. They're a fantastic team, and at the same time, they like to have a bit of a good laugh as well, played up for the cameras. So great overall.
Like, I feel like they would beat me at Overwatch, but they'd cook me dinner afterwards. Like, they'd, you know, they'd be cool.
They would beat you at Overwatch.
I'd be like, man, that was rad.
They'd beat you at Overwatch, laugh at you, and then laugh with you also.
Yeah. I mean, that's what you want, really, if you're gonna lose. But here we go now, Ardeont on the defense. Pretty stock standard team comp coming out from them, and same as well for DeToNator.
Absolutely, so Ardeont.
And speaking of same for DeToNator.
This part is not what you want to see the same.
Oh, that's much better for the start though. Pop and Thorncut, now they get open on Republic, and Ardeont are actually finding themselves a little overextended.
Erster might die,
Nakyup going down, but with Erster dead, you're right. Thorncut is actually still alive though, and they're not really able to top off Ivar. Him was a little bit too pressured out, so suddenly Ardeont just threw DM and Thorncut respawning. He's going to be able to dive back in. May just be able to find their way back on, but yeah, good headshot to close out on DM. And now it's only Thorncut, and he is a little bit too surrounded there. They do actually not quite close out on Ivar either, so DeToNator should actually be able to secure this one out despite Republic re-entering the fray here. Doesn't close out on him. Yeah, this is looking much, much better now. And it's Erster, despite coming in, catching Nakyup. They're actually kind of coming in a scattered way here. DeToNator have so far, not just straight up died to Ardeont's dive, and has finally been getting the counter trades through.
They are getting these trades 1-to-1, and the pulse bomb connecting as well would really speak to DeToNator kind of winning this. Eventually, Ardeont might get overpowered if Ardeont don't come back in with that pulse bomb from DM, which might save them, but otherwise, DeToNator are respawning a lot quicker and reinforcing a lot quicker.
Yeah, a lot quicker indeed. I mean, that's just the nature of the respawns there, but DeToNator suddenly, Ardeont just kind of turn on the gas, and just between DM and Republic, we're able to beat them back. Not even a third actually going over. That is heartbreaking for DeToNator.
But well played by Ardeont, because one of the key factors to that was DM originally on that first few moments of the fight. He stayed alive for so long. We see in particular it was Ivar that eventually killed him, and it took for him to actually get the kill on the DM because no one else could really secure that. And DM staying alive long enough really allowed the rest of Ardeont to come back in. They all died again, but once more, DM was the one keeping the point going.
And actually, up until that point, DeToNator had reacted to Ardeont's plays and also dealt with them on a one-to-one basis. But now with Erster dead, they have a huge opening even with him gone. But Nakyup as well means that if they take too much damage here, Ardeont will have that same window to just kind of beat them back. And Raphael didn't quite convert enough kills off that. He's now forced off to the side with no real healers to back him up.
Here,
they're on their way in, and yes, big advantage at last. Thorncut will commit the self-destruct, which buys a lot of time for the respawn. Doesn't convert kills though, and does get back in the mech, but it's not going to mean much. Buys more time for the team to come back in. That could be what Ardeont need, but it does look like they're willing to cede this one this time. They don't want to go for too crazy a contest.
No,
and Vexel
no.
going forward. Actually, never mind that. They decide to go in with the Nanoblade. Erster, though, he's not really getting the support he needs. Actually, good nades to keep him alive out of the Ana there, and he's able to keep going for this fight here. They're doing everything they can to keep the DPS alive, and the DPS are paying back the dividends 1,000-fold.
Oh, so far, but it's still feeling even. Two-thirds have actually gone through, and now DeToNator cleaning up a few of the kills. It's still very even. Every time DM gets back in here, he's such an unstoppable force. If he's got a few teammates, he doesn't even really need that many, but he's got the pulse bomb still already, hasn't really committed that yet, hasn't needed to. Ursa's the one that's actually quite low. Ursa's just keeping the point alive long enough for the rest of Ardeont to respawn in there, and DeToNator, they had basically all their members. Even though the Nanoblade didn't do enough work, it bought enough time that Ardeont resupplied.
And also in buying time, there was Thorncut, the self-destruct, then barely getting back in the mech. Then he has to be demeched again and killed in pilot form. It wasted a lot of time. DM, great stick, and that really hurts DeToNator here. They actually have to back up and wait now for Nakyup. It's not safe to commit to this.
And that's the problem as well, because we're running so out of time that waiting for Nakyup is just buying Ardeont more to work with. You're going to get the ultimates back up on Ardeont's side as well. Specifically, Thorncut's going to reach that self-destruct. Republic can stall even longer with the Primal Rage, and we already know what happens when Ardeont stalls. They get the reinforcements, and they just keep the point going.
And now they're finally going to be able to commit. Good pick onto Adamo to kick it off, but him responded to. They finally take out Dayfly as well, so without the healers there, they actually have a real opportunity to open up. Need to find DM. Both these Winstons just kind of going hard on the point. Thorncut picked off. Does take Ivar with him, but at last DeToNator are solidly on this point, and Ardeont are properly being beaten back. Still haven't quite closed down on Republic and DM, but Republic about to go down here.
Alive.
And DM should be able to fall here as well. I don't think he can quite stall out that much time. She's really buying time for it. Finally going down. And now DeToNator may just be able to get the payload underway. They are still getting a few trickle ones in. Indeed, yeah, he will actually get Blade unless they pick him quick, smart. And Dayfly is working overtime to keep him alive, but he's dead now, Dayfly. So Erster has the Blade, but no nano boost and does get picked off. Finally, DeToNator will get the push, but it took them 3 great fights.
What? Great fights would be a good way to put it, because they were great fights with
Great fights, but not good enough.
DeToNator realistically came out ahead. They had all the advantages necessary. Player advantage, ultimates, you name it, but Ardeont always kept it going, and DM, one more time, has been the key factor at keeping the contest alive for Ardeont, allowing the reinforcements to come back in. Just so happens this time Ursa was too low to use the Dragon Blade, otherwise he might have been able to turn it around.
Bacon Jack is terrified right now. Like somewhere Bacon Jack is weeping alone in a room as he watches DM
You think
play.
he's weeping?
Because this is,
might be weeping.
yeah, this is what they're going to have to be coming up against here if DeToNator don't really turn on the pressure. I mean, already they cannot cap as quickly as Ardeont did, and odds are they're not going to get a push of their own. They'll have to first hold Ardeont. And that's if they can get it through to the end anyway.
What I want to say is the silver lining and improvement for DeToNator is they are dealing with Ursa a lot better. Previously, Ursa got away with murder so many times. Now he is actually getting taken down, and that's a step towards potentially, a much better result.
Nano boost out onto Republic did force the Transcendence out of him. Raphael a bit low, needs to be careful here because that's one of the few ultimates they can really leverage, and him now getting picked off. He's actually, Republic of all people is able to just kind of get aggressive. They pick back onto Erster, but it's not enough. When the DPS is this low and one of your healers is dead, they can't actually rejoin the fray and swing it back in your favor, and that just means Ardeont have all the time in the world to clean up the kills.
So Erster dies again, so this is something that DeToNator are consistently doing now, and for one of the few times so far in the series as a whole, DeToNator come out ahead in terms of ultimate economy. They don't have a lot of time to play with, but they do have a lot of distance they can gain from now this advantage if they can leverage it properly, because Ardeont are severely behind. Not something that happens a lot.
It's one way to put it, but I mean, is this team ever really behind? Well, with Erster dead, they absolutely are.
They lose Erster.
At long last, they're really getting the converts on. Good sound barrier to open that one out for them. It's just giving them the room they need to breathe. And by breathe, I mean move the payload. But Ardeont will still get one further defense. Good ult economy out of DeToNator, though, means Ardeont don't come into this next one with an advantage.
A nice late kill to DM by AVRL as well. It's going to buy DeToNator a lot more time. But Erster going down at the start of all these fights is kind of like Nakyup on Nepal. This is becoming a real problem for Ardeont. They need to address this now if they actually want to get this defense sorted.
Yeah, if indeed they get another great start picking DM. Now, Dayfly as well on the cusp of Nano Boost. This is big for DeToNator. They will use all their tools to make it happen, but this is absolutely going to be making it happen.
Great placement, Pixie.
This is beautiful. They've taken out all the members of Ardeont. It's only really Thorncard contesting, and actually by doing this, he uses up an ultimate, and he's going to give ult charge back over. He doesn't get any kills, so DM commits though, and actually he's popped Ivar's mech, so they've decided they want to go in. They got the Nano Boost onto Republic. Yeah, the cap's already gone over, so this is actually just Ardeont throwing ultimates into DeToNator, who are happy to take it. It just helps them even up the score quicker.
And for the first time, we're really seeing Ardeont misplaying. I think they're just getting a little bit too greedy. They understand they're the better team. They understand they're the favorites in this entire qualifier, and they're making the type of plays that I don't believe they would be doing this against a team they respected a lot more. But they just believe that they can just scrape out these tiny margins, and this time it doesn't pay off.
Yeah, perhaps believing a little bit too much in their own myth here. Now DeToNator getting aggressive themselves. Transcendence was a little bit forced, but they've made it worthwhile as they convert onto Erster. Trona picked off by Dayfly is very rough for them, and now Ardeont just have all these tools to keep the health bars all topped out. DeToNator are going to have to take this one on the chin, and unfortunately committing ultimates to that as well. They drew a couple out of Ardeont, but it's not really enough to equate to a lead.
Absolutely not a lead, because DeToNator, they had to commit themselves into their. Erster's still sitting on this Dragon Blade. I think Erster's sat on the same Dragon Blade now for a good 2 minutes. A good, ever since the Streets phase, now we're going to the third cap. Just never had a really good chance to use it. DM has been mostly staying alive, but Erster's been the one punished time and time again. He's got to get this done.
All right, last chance for them now. Oh dear, DM retreats right into him, and Republic closes him out. Now Ivar going aggressive with the self-destruct to try and make space. Erster actually fires nothing with the Dragon Blade. Now DeToNator have absorbed everything. They were alive, but suddenly Ardeont put on the pressure anyway. Out-fragging, only Trona there left to do work. He doesn't do it. Nakyup, super late sound barrier. Absolutely nothing to come from that. Both supports, but actually him's not in this fight. He died at the start of it. No one's on the payload, and Ardeont are now 2-0 up.
That is about the most Ardeont have ever struggled in this entire broadcaster qualifier, in at least the finals. I
think I see him with one bead of sweat there.
Just the one.
Just the one.
Just a
slowly trickling down from his armpit to his wrist.
Oh well, they made him sweat. They made Ardeont sweat just a little bit, because for the first time, I would even say during that first cap, look, it was still a very good defense, all things considered, because they held it for so long. In fact, Ardeont held it until the overtime, but the fact it was such a difficult hold where at any of those given moments they could have just completely lost it. They played like that throughout the entire map, and only right at the end on that second cap, at the end of the Streets phase, did that not work out for them when they go for the final attempt to continue holding the card for the contest. You see Thorncard going to their self-destruct, followed up by Republic with a Nano Boost as well, but the cap just went over, and that's when it was really, you really look at Ardeont and think, they got something wrong. That's crazy. How did they do something wrong here? And the other thing that was really insane was DeToNator Korea really adapted well enough that they found Erster a lot, and even towards the end they were able to kill DM. One of the best moments for them was Bixel's rampage on that second camp into the third, where he got something like 3 or 4 kills in a row. Opened up with both, I believe, Dayfly and DM at the same time. So that's what really swung DeToNator Korea forward in a big way.
Absolutely. And that's the thing, right? Look, I'm going to be honest with you. Even if DeToNator Korea lose here, which they could well do, there is only one map between that being the reality and them extending the series. Even if they lose here, they have actually started to figure out Ardeont a little bit. And if Ardeont qualify, they are going to have to come up against 6 other very well-established teams now with a lot of experience who have had a tournament in which they had 4 round robins worth to learn from other teams. They know how to do it, right? They have perfected that art. Ardeont are going to come in with a bunch of teams that can read them arguably better than anyone else they've faced in this qualifier here. So with DeToNator Korea already kind of working them out a little bit, it actually means that Ardeont aren't going to just be this crazy dominant team. Like, again, don't believe the hype. They are very good, but this is also happening in a vacuum.
And the battle of the two Korean teams will continue very shortly as we're about to head into map number 3. It will, of course, be DeToNator Korea's map pick again onto the Assault. It could be their final opportunity. We'll find out what happens after this break. And welcome back to the inaugural OPC Korea Brawl, where both Korean teams are going to be battling it out, and that's a first for OPC, I'll tell you that.
It actually is, yeah. We actually didn't have any Korean teams at all in Season 1. It was, of course, open to Korean teams.
Now you don't have one, but you got 2.
Yeah, you got 2, and there is the chance that both qualify as well, but certainly one of them is going to qualify.
I think you're going to get at least one.
Yeah.
Like, factually, you're going to get at least one.
You have to have at least one at this point. It is numerically impossible, and actually that one right now is looking very much to be Ardeont. DeToNator Korea, one last chance to turn it around, but honestly, on the Ardeont side of things, hey, look, you are now 1 game away from qualifying for OPC Season 2. That would just be a guaranteed thing for you if you can win this one last Assault. It does get to be DeToNator Korea's pick, but you went into this 3-0 in every single game you played through the qualifier. You can probably feel like you can expect to win this one, but I'll tell you what, don't believe your own story, don't believe the hype, you've still got to actually win it.
And the other thing is, if you're going to use Ardeont as a bit of a measuring stick between DeToNator Korea and also Liberland Supreme, who are waiting in that lower bracket, is so far, look, if DeToNator Korea go down to the lower bracket, they've had a much better performance against Ardeont than Liberland Supreme in their entire series. So that's going to speak a lot to DeToNator Korea's ability to qualify themselves as they now pick up their 3rd map, or rather choose their map, which is Temple of Anubis.
It feels a little bit weird seeing that DeToNator name without them going to Hanamura.
Right.
DeToNator Gold.
Well, there's no Korea map, so not yet, maybe.
Not yet, yeah. Busan, like, we need that. Anyway, but there's DeToNator
What's
Gold
special
actually.
about Busan?
DeToNator Gold, I don't know, it's in Korea.
What you got against Seoul? No.
DeToNator, I don't know, I'm not a big fan of Seoul music, but DeToNator Gold played it a ton, Sun Sister played it a ton, and even Liberland Supreme, also Japanese, played Hanamura a ton. Like, there is this actual legitimate running theme of the Japanese teams playing Hanamura. I like. Maybe they actually do just prefer the home country map. I don't know. That's the only takeaway I can have. We're apparently getting a map soon. New Zealand, we're apparently getting a map.
Yeah, if you believe the rumor mill, we are apparently getting a map. So there.
And
it is.
I would pick it. I would pick it all the
Team
time.
New Zealand, that's going to be our home map. So
yeah, take that Australia.
We'll make that Australia.
Yeah, the Australians are sitting there like, oh, where's Alice Springs? Where's our map? I like how they just named it after a person, like, oh, we found a spring in the middle of the desert. Like, we need let's found a town here. What should we call it? Alice, what do you think? I'm going to be honest, Australia, I do love you, but you're not good at names. You could have called your Long Straight Road something other than Long Straight Road.
I do actually think they have some fantastically interesting Aboriginal names. Like in New Zealand, we have some fantastic Māori-based names, but
They got
Australian ones are really
the Woolloomooloos
really
and the Walla Wallas of the world. Yeah. There's actually, in Australia, there is a Walla Walla, a Wagga Wagga, a Walla Wagga, and a Wagga Walla. Just thought you should all know that.
In case you get confused. All within 10 blocks of each other. No.
It's actually just dry cleaners. No, those are actual towns, but there's some really, really interesting. I also like that they have this great big sandy desert that they call the Great Sandy Desert. And also that great big barrier reef they call the Great Barrier Reef. Like Australia, fire your name maker.
All right, Great Sandy Desert sounds like exactly where we are at the Temple of Anubis.
Nice segue.
Ursa going to start things off on the Widowmaker as well, something I don't think we really saw yesterday, so I like seeing the depth of what Ardeont can really pull out.
Nakyup already out the gate here on something else themselves as well, the Sombra, and I want to see how this works out for them because they don't have the health pack control far enough back for these tanks to really stay alive, and yeah, Ursa with the
this could be a kill.
Oh, that's huge.
Oh, the reload!
Oh, that's so rough. That's actually just poor reload discipline to not have the full clip before you go into that. And look at this. He hadn't even hacked the health packs around the point, actually. So, no wonder the tanks died, right? You're less one healer, you don't have the health pack control, and Ardeont, I mean, they just stormed in.
I mean, Republic found an opening. He saw both supports and he says, yep, picking these up from the supermarket, take him right back home, and Ardeont going to push on through with, I would say, a fair amount of ease. Ursa swapping now back onto that Genji as well, resetting his ultimate. In fact, I do actually think we saw Ursa playing Widow yesterday. I'm going to have to jog my memory just a bit.
I think we did. I think you're quite correct on this. No, actually, no, we didn't. We did see a lot of Widowmaker, but it was in the Talon Liberland game, I want to say.
Right, well, apparently Ardeont
but
got
in
that
any
in the
case,
bag and solved.
So picking out Dayfly,
That's
good
a lot of
way to
kills.
start, and this is exactly what DeToNator needed. Ardeont just a little bit too low. DM committing the Pulse Bomb is interesting there because there's not really much you can get out from it. Ivar's probably just going to swap onto something else and then back onto the Diva to reset the mech. So actually DeToNator have held in that crucial moment to stop the snowball.
And, I mean, Ardeont at this point are kind of stopping their own snowball because you're right, the Pulse Bomb did not need to be committed there. Ursa dying as well. Everything just slows down Ardeont's push, and they got a lot of time to play with, and sure, that's going to definitely work into the favor. I don't see them not capping out, but they're certainly not doing efficient.
Yeah, what happens is they don't quite get to kick in the door. That's
not
good. That's really good. Good EMP out as well. To follow it up means they are able to close out in Republic. And this is DeToNator looking very nicely entrenched, actually. Very well read. Hold on a tick, though. Ardeont was sneaking that cap through for a moment there. That was a little bit dicey. There's only a third to go on that one.
Okay, that is... Turns out it's a lot of teams don't even get 2/3 off of incredible pushes. So the fact that Ardeont snuck that one out, I mean, everything they've done up until now, all that wasted time, suddenly it's been made up of.
It's like sometimes they're kicking in the front door like, hey, it's me, your opponent. And then like sometimes they're sneaking in at night and like crawling into your bed next to you and whispering in your ear, hey, it's me, your opponent. And that, getting those 2/3 there, that was the second. That was the latter of those 2/3.
I haven't experienced either of those in my personal life, and hopefully I never will.
I've lived a very colourful life. In any case, they only have to get 1/3. Unfortunately, DeToNator, they don't even get a setup play. They already have to go in. Dayfly, very good EMP, but Nakup can commit his here onto that sound barrier if he so chooses. Erster not really finding much. Now Raphael not really finding much either, but they're getting that little bit extra as Nakup finds Animo, and they had that respawn advantage as well. All they lost was Ivar's mech, followed by Ivar, but the members of Ardeont were a bit too low. Trona securing those kills. That was very down to the wire. They're still keeping members on the point to contest. And it's only Thorn Cut. It is indeed a stagger. This is good for DeToNator. Run down the clock. There's only a third left.
Oh, look at 98%.
This is so
though. I mean,
absurd.
for Ardeont, it's actually they're so close to cap.
They nearly accidentally let the cap go.
And that's the other thing. DeToNator need to be very concerned here because they've let 2/3 go without even really contesting. With 4 minutes and 30, it is so doable to get that last third out. It's not even funny. Ardeont just need one good EMP play, and that could just be it.
Very concerned indeed. Nakup, good pick to start it off onto Republic. Dayfly nearly with this EMP though, and Nakup needs to get his up in time because they've traded off the Winstons.
This
now.
is a push.
That is a push, but Bexel has a shorter walk, so the Winstons will arrive at roughly the same time. But Dayfly with that EMP, opts not to commit it, and I do actually agree with that, and it means the Winstons ultimately just reset themselves.
I think there was a potential he was looking to bait some defensive ultimates. Not going to happen. Nothing there. No Zenyatta's. Nothing to play with. First EMP does come out from the outside.
Nakup first, which means Dayfly gets to go second, commits his, and DeToNator is super low. They're not even on the point. Wow, hey, it's me, your opponent.
Sneak it in the back door. Again.
It just, like, what happens is, like, each member goes for a different entrance. Like, one's in the front door, one's in the back door, one's, like, down your chimney, one's kicking in your windows, like, one came in through your basement. You didn't even know you had a basement. Like, you can't...
He dug one for you.
It's like,
he created one for you.
It's like playing Black Ops Zombies. You just can't cover all of those entrances for the entire game. It's just not possible, right? Eventually, Zombie Ardeont will find its way in.
Zombie Ardeont. Now, that's like Marvel Zombies, something like that.
Yeah.
It's just like
Okay,
the
I'm going to be
alternate
honest.
version.
DeToNator held well. They can now actually push well. That is a very real thing. They went to time bank a lot yesterday against Talon. I do actually expect that to happen here on Assault. And actually, on that, they were able to cap twice in their time bank and held out Talon on Talon's second cap. So this is still very much within reach for DeToNator Korea.
So DeToNator Korea held out well in the conventional sense that they won the fights they needed to win. They staggered when they needed to. They were able to find pick counts where they happened. But letting the cap go, the first 2/3, I mean, that's just extremely devastating. This could have been a much different game.
That's the definition of give an inch, take a mile.
I mean, yeah, well, the thing is, you can see it from the Ardeont side. Essentially, they walked in, and someone on the Ardeont side said, "We're losing this, but I'm just going to try and sneak the cap anyway because I do see that DeToNator Korea are overextending. I don't think anyone's going to be home. I'm going to get there. Oh, look, I'm capping. No one's coming to stop me." And bam, 2/3 out of the way. Suddenly, the entire Ardeont game plan changes because now they don't need to be playing for the whole 100%. They got the 2/3 without even trying realistically.
Yeah.
And they can play the sort of style where you just attack from different sort of directions, just really sneak in the last few percentages of the cap, and for DeToNator Korea, hard to cover everything.
And it's this really mind-gamey thing, because in that situation, the defending team often actually leaves the point to try and rout you and pick up extra kills off the back of the fight. And that's members like DM and Thorncut reading that and going, you know what, let's just sneak out some cap while they're doing that. And got maybe a bit more than even they bargained for. But in any case, DeToNator gold now out the gate on the attack. I don't think they want to be sneaky. I think they just want to kick down the front door.
If possible, they're going to need to do it quickly as well, because, you know, Ardeont got a fairly respectable time. It wasn't a mind-blowing time considering how much they had with going after the first cap, so that's really the one takeaway.
Oh, good catch onto Anima.
That's a takeaway too.
Unfortunately, they lost Bexel in there in that kind of prolonged skirmish, and now about to lose Ivar too if they're not
Bexel
careful.
comes back faster.
Ooh, yeah, exactly. That's the one good thing. Animo does get himself back quicker because he is himself the Lucio, but oh dear, Trona. Health back, please.
Republic.
Oh man, Republic wants
He
this,
needed to
man.
go there early. Republic should have dropped down
Yeah.
far earlier and went for that kill, but not quite quick enough.
And now actually loses his life for it. So actually slight misfire there by Ardeont. And now trying to a bit more
good
safely in
backup
this
by
position.
Raphael.
Great move by Raphael, yeah. Now getting Dayfly out of this one as well, and DeToNator are looking like they're going to be cracking this point. Thorncut is going to try and cut off the rest of the team from coming in, but he's not actually on the point itself and will probably lose his life that overextended eventually. Yeah, that is indeed what happens now as he moves back for the point. And so DeToNator will actually get themselves a cap, and not too much slower than Ardeont, to be completely honest, and have plenty of time to cap through the second point with an opportunity to snowball.
Trono's got a lot to say about that. You see the earlier swap on to the Sombra by Dayfly as well. So for one of the few times Ardeont do just give up their cap, they understand the importance of setting up the second cap properly. They're going to be able to do that now. Trona staying on the Widowmaker as well. Then that's interesting because DeToNator decided, Ardeont decided not to do that. And I think it is a bit risky for DeToNator to now go forward with the Widowmaker, considering the ult is gone.
Now with him getting picked as well, Earth is so unrelenting and not answered to either. They get aggressive and find Trona. No one's answered Erster here. They pick Republic, but I mean, that's not a trade. That doesn't really matter. And now, honestly, Ardeont have survived the hardest moment. They didn't actually draw ults out, but they've got enough of their own up that DeToNator probably can't snowball.
Yeah, and that's a really big factor here. Ardeont had absolutely set up. They're about to sit on 6 ultimates, and as a defensive
Ivar.
team,
Oh, man.
setting onto 6 ultimates is absolutely fantastic, and it's going to be extremely difficult for DeToNator to do anything about this. In fact, DeToNator, their goal for this next push, probably don't even want to really commit. You just want to bait out ultimates.
Yeah, especially that EMP. Mainly just to create yourself a window where then EMP is down. Ivar will actually be able to get back in the mech. It did lose them about 20 seconds there, but it wasn't the end of the world, but not to be reacted to here for DeToNator.
Spending a lot of time just hanging out on the side.
Great land by Dayfly. It's straight onto him as well. Look at how clean that follow-up was. Bexel the only one to get a return kill, and they've only baited out one ult. That's just not enough for DeToNator.
It isn't, but it's something they can sort of work with now. I think for Ivar, I believe Ivar's mech is gone, so I don't get a chance to see what Ivar's self-destruct is.
He did have the ult.
But actually, DeToNator are in a sort of situation where 5 ultimates versus 5 ultimates, and they don't have to play into EMP. This is actually a situation they can sort of leverage, and I don't think they can afford to waste too much time anymore because they can't play for another dry push. Well, they could, but they will lose another minute, and I don't know if it's worth it.
And EMP is going to be up during this fight, so they just need to commit quickly and make it pay off for themselves. EMP nearly there as the defensive ultimates are early to get used. Raphael is finding nothing with that sound barrier there, and may just go down for it as well. Now Dayfly come into the committal, wants to commit that EMP, but might not even need to, as DM able to clean it up with him and Erster. They did it to commit a lot of ultimates for that. So again, DeToNator have actually kind of created themselves a window. They used up a lot, but they still had to fight through this EMP.
Absolutely. So Ardeont, they used everything except the EMP. They're going to have to really utilize EMP to recharge the rest of the ultimates. That's the big tool for EMP, but it actually could go south very quickly if the EMP doesn't go off in the way that you want. And that happens to a lot of teams. You just can't get a good EMP, and it comes down to DeToNator playing well against it. They did versus Talent. They had a really good way of countering out the EMP with their own positioning. They can do that again. They'll get a third off this.
Yeah, DM already were looking to go aggressive though to pick off him between him and Republic. And look at the pressure, look at the teamwork, honestly, the sheer coordination to pull that off, no hesitation as well. And it means that the rest of the team is now struggling on the point. Now the EMP connecting means Raphael can't really safely retreat, gets picked off. And again, DeToNator are just going to get stopped up.
So it definitely works out quite well for Ardeont. They get the first ultimate back online. That's the pulse spawn. So for DeToNator, they're going to have to spend a decent amount of time, a few minutes, just to charge everything back up themselves. And actually for DeToNator, it's not a bad situation because Ardeont are still behind in ultimates. For DeToNator, if they actually find a couple of scenarios where they can get in quite quickly, play the sort of neutral fight once more without EMP in the mix, This is where DeToNator can really come out ahead, but they don't even have the first third, and that's not good to play off.
Yeah, they don't have much at all in terms of their own ultimates either, really just relying on Bexel and getting something like a Dragon Blade up, but Ardeont will get their own ultimates up during the course of this fight anyway. DeToNator have to commit, but they need to pay respect to DM. Once again, they need to stop leaving him off on his own. He can't actually win that 1v1.
Leave him alone.
The response is too slow for DeToNator. How many times is this trick gonna work? How many times are they just gonna forget, oh, wait, we need to kill DM first, or we're just gonna lose all our healers? And Bexel committed the ultimate as well. This is about as bad as that could have gone for DeToNator.
DM is just cleaning up everybody on his own, gets a mech as well, leaves Ivor the baby demon form with 2 minutes and 37 seconds left. Now Ardeont, all ultimates are back online, including the EMP, about to hit the full 6 again, and DeToNator Gold had a good, sorry, not DeToNator Gold, Korea rather, had a fantastic situation where it's totally neutral ground. That neutral ground is gone, and Ardeont are here to stay again.
Yeah, you used a good word earlier on their defense, concerning. This is very concerning for DeToNator. Even when they're ahead, they're not winning fights. And now once again, straight into the EMP, and him first to die, the rest not too long to follow, to be honest with you.
All going down fairly quickly. The EMP, self-destruct, that's all they really needed.
And Ardeont is still ahead.
Ardeont are a fantastic team at conserving ultimates, and sometimes to the detriment, but usually, you know, always just economically superior to every other team we've seen them go up against so far, at least. And to get an advantage over Ardeont is a rare thing. So to get it at all, you need to be able to utilize it, because you're not going to get it again easily.
When will DM make this jump? Oh, no, wait a minute. He has to do a 1v1 instead. Trying to commit the pulse bomb into nothing, though. They have got themselves onto the point thanks to this Transcendence, but Ardeont have stayed patient. They've held onto their ult, so unless any kills get converted here for DeToNator, this isn't going to work out for them again. As
nice
now, once again, Ardeont can just turn on the pressure. Thorncut, the only one to go down, unfortunately for them, and unless Raphael can find a lot more of the back end of this Dragon Blade, it's going to have completely misfired, and he indeed goes down. Erster still holding on to his. They had to commit a few more off the back end of that one, at least. So for DeToNator, that's good news, but they still don't have a lead themselves.
And 1 minute remaining. Erster's still holding on to an ultimate. DeToNator, you're absolutely right. They don't really have a lead here. No one has anything on the DeToNator side to really use Raphael's ultimate. Dragon Blade got countered out by the EMP. They can go on with EMP is not a factor, but Erster is still a factor, and he has been keeping the game alive for Ardeont for a very long time. That's not even including the fact that DM, ultimate or no, has just been a huge factor.
Now, once again, getting aggressive, but honestly, him is still cut off. How many times? This time they are converting the kills on the point, though. Need to close out on Erster, who is committing the Dragon Blade. They're losing Ivar, though, and like I said, they don't have him. They've only got one healer. Makes it so much harder to keep everyone alive as they try and continue the aggression. And the respawns do favor Ardeont here. They still haven't got a third. Ardeont are always keeping boots on the ground on this point. EMP committed now, and DeToNator have no retreat tools at their disposal as Trona a little bit caught on this bottom side as Nakup and Bexel get picked. Now suddenly Trona finds himself alone in the thick of it, needs to get out of there quick smart. Popstorm cuts mech, that's something good on the backside, but unfortunately losing his life for it means all's well that not ends well. It doesn't end well. I don't know. It's not going to end well for DeToNator. But I tell you who it ends well for. It ends well for Ardeont. They have qualified for OPC Season 2. Congratulations.
The first team in the qualifiers to secure their place in the next season, and well deserved as well, because of Ardeont, that was an absolutely, I want to say, disgusting kind of 2 days where 0-3 has just been their entire track record across the entire qualifiers in the online section and the live section, and they want to continue that spree even into next season as well.
Yeah, this is at last some new blood into the OPC, and that blood runs hot. Ardeont, full of fire.
Just like their logo.
Yeah, every single game they played, and DeToNator Korea, not the first team to fall prey to them, and it is not all over for DeToNator Korea as well. They do still get one last chance to qualify themselves, but we have now gone from 3 teams to 2 teams, and only one of those remaining 2 can still qualify for that final spot in Season 2.
Absolutely right. 2 teams remaining. It is a little bit of a rematch, and the last time Liblin Supreme and DeToNator Gold does DeToNator Korea, I need to stop saying that. I'm just going to call them DeToNator. Last time DeToNator and Liblin Supreme met up was in the online qualifying, and that scoreline was 3-2 in DeToNator's favor. So it does speak to a bit of a history where they've already beaten Liblin, and also if we're going to compare their performances versus Ardeont, DeToNator just had the better performance.
They absolutely did. The other thing as well is against Talon, the scoreline was the same, But I'll be honest, the actual performance itself felt a little bit like the reverse there. It did feel like Liberland had the slightly better performance than DeToNator Korea did. Indeed, all the games DeToNator Korea played came down much closer. A lot of time banks in there, a lot of 99 to 99% on control, and that was actually the one that Talon won of them. That being said, Talon weren't looking as good in their match against Liberland, so it makes them quite a hard yardstick to measure against. It's really hard to say between these two teams who is going to be looking the better, so I think the most relevant thing to say is Liberland come into this fresh, DeToNator come into it fresh off a loss.
We're going to have to find out exactly how these two teams now go with only one spot remaining to get into Season 2. Will it be Korea? Will it be Japan? We'll find out very soon. That's all happening after.